These are the things that I hope I can bring back and share with you guys through my photography, because it's moments like these that make me want to keep coming out, make me want to keep shooting. My hope is through my art, I inspire you guys to get out and travel and come out to nature and experience moments like these. But you know, a photo will never do this justice. Neither the video won't do it justice, but I am very, very blessed to be witnessing this right now and experiencing this. Now, I was happy to see that I timed my 10-hour drive from Las Vegas to Colorado absolutely perfect. It's always my favorite thing when I get to a location and I'm shooting before I even get to my location, and I haven't even had to leave the van to start shooting. With anticipation and excitement now boiling over, I headed up towards my camp spot and evening shoot location when the most annoying thing that could possibly happen happened. Literally as soon as I get to my location. I have a code reader and I'm able to figure out what it's telling me. It's saying there's an EGR valve that's stuck, and thankfully I've been able to look up some videos and people talk about this being a known issue. It's on the emissions side of things. So I'm hoping that I can just clean out the filter and it's going to be fine. But it's Sunday right now, so I can't get a hold of any of the dealerships because all the dealers are closed, and the closest one is in Denver, which is a ways away. So this might be a very short-lived fall adventure, but there's a AutoZone not far from here. I'm going to go drive to that AutoZone and unfortunately bypass some photography tonight and try to get this thing fixed. Hopefully, fingers crossed that this works. Now, after visiting the local AutoZone to grab some necessary parts and cleaning materials, I decided to cut my losses and park up for the evening so I could get a good night's rest. So I'm camping out at this Walmart parking lot. There's about like 5 other vans and 1 big RV in this area to hopefully fix the problem tomorrow morning. It's about 30 minutes away from the San Juan Mountains that I'm hopefully photographing and what I came all this way to do. So what's going on? I have a code reader and I went ahead and pulled the code, which is a ERG cooler bypass control stuck code, bank 1. And according to Mercedes, their app here, there's a bunch of different ways they say you can go ahead and troubleshoot and fix it. Now, my issue is a lot of the troubleshooting problems, like I'm not losing power, I don't have weird shifting going on, I don't have decreased fuel economy, like all the things they're talking about, my van isn't dealing with right now, which makes me think that it's a faulty sensor. I'm not a mechanic. One of the things they talk about on there is cleaning the valve. And so there's a bunch of YouTube videos out there. I'm going to go ahead and in the morning probably try to clean that valve. It doesn't look too difficult. So because this is just an emissions thing, and worst case scenario, I get thrown in limp mode and I got to limp this thing back home, which would very much suck. But I'm going to go ahead and go shoot sunrise tomorrow morning. I know a spot I can go to that I'll be fine. They'll be a-okay. So I'm going to do that, shoot sunrise, and then I'll make my phone call when they open up at 7 Vegas time, which would be 8 o'clock my time. And then we'll go from there. And if they think it needs to be cleaned, then I have all the stuff right here to clean it, or I might take it to a mechanic here. We'll see. With a good night's rest under my belt, it was time to get my morning started and head to the hills for what I hoped would be a very successful morning shoot. This morning has been so far very incredible. I mean, it's hard to beat that view, but got some color in the sky over here. Hopefully we start to get some of the mountains lighten up here. Sorry, it's kind of windy, so I have no idea if you guys are going to be able to hear me or not. This morning, as I was setting up the shot, there's a bull elk down here bugling. My God, it's windy. I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you guys in the van after I get these shots. This morning's shoot was exactly what I needed to lift my spirits. And to make things even better, for a split second, a rainbow appeared and I was able to get the shot. Last year, I don't think I filmed any of it, but I spent one of the last days here and I was treated to a bunch of fog and cool weather anomalies. And today we got the same thing. We got all this rain coming through. Doesn't really look like it's snow. It's not cold enough. There was some snow on the peaks. Obviously, you guys saw that. So it kind of adds some color contrast there. But I got that rainbow there at the end. And at this point, I don't know if I got a good shot because I already packed up and I was already walking away and I turned around and I saw it. So I actually grabbed my Canon that I usually shoot with and just shot it handheld. I didn't even try to get a tripod set up. I hope that shot turned out good because that was a really cool moment. Now I gotta be responsible, I think, and drive out of here and start calling some people, figure out what the hell's going on with this van. So I'm gonna call my dealer and see what's going on. And the nice thing is there's a company here called Adventure Vans or Adrenaline Vans, which I've heard of them before, and I drove by their store last night and I was like, oh shoot, like I recognize them. And so when I was kind of getting ready for bed, I ended up Googling their website and found out that they do Mercedes-Benz repairs and services. So I might also run into there and talk with them and see if this is something maybe they can fix. So hi, my name is Riley Clark. I'm over here in Ridgeway visiting from Las Vegas, and I just had a check engine light come on my van, and I saw you guys do service and stuff.
We'll have your number, so I'll give you a call back here in a second when I check with them.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Now, thankfully, the folks over at Adrenaline Vans had an open slot for me, so I went ahead and packed everything up and headed into town. After a short little bit, they had me all buttoned up, and I was ready to hit the road again. I cannot tell you guys how relieved I am right now. What I was told by the guys at Adrenaline, since they had the actual Mercedes code reader and all that my machine was storing that code, and that was what was triggering the check engine light to keep coming on. The code was showing that it maybe got stuck once, the EGR valve got stuck once, and since it kept storing that, it just kept on reminding me that that happened. So they were able to go ahead and wipe that, and then they went ahead and cleaned that valve for me. They said that this is pretty common, and then as soon as they got finished up, my Mercedes dealer called me. He told me that if I'm not losing any power or don't have any issues, he said it's not going to break you down or cause you any major problems. So it's probably just got stuck once, and maybe to go ahead and clean it. And so I told him that I had guys clean it, and he said, perfect, you should be fine. So the trip is back on. Now the only thing is, it is completely raining, like downpour rain right now, which is a great thing because that means the mountains are probably getting a fresh coating of snow. So what I'm gonna probably do is do some scouting this afternoon. And you know, if I get to do some shooting too with the overcast sky, you know, then great. But I'm gonna go check out a few areas that so I can kind of plan out my sunset and sunrise shoot for tomorrow. Yeah, so that's the game plan. Unfortunately, the rain did not let up and did not provide any shooting opportunities the rest of the day. So instead of forcing anything and trying to make something out of nothing, I headed towards where I wanted to camp that evening, which was near a spot that I was really excited to find for sunrise the next morning. So I went for a little walk around and really wasn't anything out there, just a little creek. I did find a pond off the road, and on my Onyx I confirmed it with the GPS for the shot I want to do tomorrow. So it's just down the ways. I honestly might even just walk down there tomorrow morning. I may not even drive. I was going to cook either chicken teriyaki or a steak tonight because that's what I had thawing out, so I thought, but neither of them thawed out even though I put them from the freezer into the refrigerator. So we are going to be having one of these pre-made microwave meals that I got from the grocery store tonight, which is probably a good thing. I have some work I want to do. I got Starlink set up. Honestly, pretty freaking impressed. Show you guys, for those of you curious for Starlink. It's cloudy out right now too, and I'm able to load everything. I'll pull an actual stat for you guys here, but this is my Victron usage right now. So currently pulling 10 amps, and that's also including charging some things. I got the lights on, of course, my Wii Boost, so that's not all coming from the Starlink, but with my 600 amp hour battery bank, I could run that indefinitely for 1 day and 12 hours. Now, I am not pulling in a lick of solar right now because it is cloudy and raining, so it's at 0 watts right now. I do have 400 watts, so honestly this could easily be run off the grid during the day, which makes me really want to buy one now. Pull up the actual Starlink app here, and I'm doing a speed test. Oh my gosh, I'm pulling pretty fast crap right now. That's awesome. That is really awesome. Yeah, so I'm very happy with that solution. I'm not going to do the permanent mounted one because this kind of has confirmed that for me that I'm not going to do that. Just because I don't always need to set it up if I don't have to, because most of the time I can get my cellular. But if I need it, I'm in a remote area, I can set it up really quick. And I probably would just mount it onto my ladder instead of I have it sitting on top of my roof right now. But there's not much more photography going on tonight because of this rain. It's kind of been a slow start, but honestly actually been pretty productive. Produced actually quite a few good images so far. So looking forward to what I'm going to create tomorrow. These mountains are getting smoked with some snow right now, so yeah, excited for tomorrow morning. Now the little bit of clouds that we had in the morning around blue hour and the first bit of sunlight, not long after that, they burned off completely. I was happy that I was able to grab a shot though before they left. with no more shooting really to be had in this location, I decided to head back to the van, pack up, so I could get to my next location. It finally seemed like I had momentum on my side. I had a few great images in my back pocket. I had the van all fixed up and ready to rock and roll for the remainder of the trip. And with that fresh coating of snow all over the mountain peaks, it was prime for some great mountainscape photography. But while I was cooking breakfast, I noticed something that quickly quenched my hopes for the day. I had a water leak. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the back fitting there, not the red one, but the blue one, the bottom is completely busted off or came loose or something. I can't really fully tell, but that is what is going on. So I'm going to run to Home Depot. I should be able to grab one of those fittings. It's just a 1/2-inch shark bite fitting. Should be able to slide my water tank out. I am going to have to probably drain my water tank though, just to make sure I don't have any more water issues for the little drive that I got to do. But God, every time I've come up to this spot, I've had an issue. With plenty of time to spare and a store only about 45 minutes away in town, I decided to head back into town yet again to see if I could patch up the plumbing before the evening shoot. Okay, I have good news and I have bad news. Good news, that fitting actually was not broken. Bad news, that means I have no idea where the leak is coming from. So I drained the system, as you guys saw, to work on it. I am not gonna fill it back up because I just don't have the headspace right now to really deal with this. It's not the end of the world to not have running water. I mean, my God, I camp all the time without it. So I have water bottles and other usable water. So I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna go ahead and go get my shots tonight because the clouds and the conditions look awesome. And so I'm thinking about leaving this area to another area tomorrow anyway after sunrise. So what I'll probably do is get my sunrise shot and then start working on this plumbing, see if I can figure out where it is. And then, which I think it's in the back somewhere, which could be an easy fix or could be a pain in the freaking butt. So again, not the end of the world to not have water. So yeah, I mean, because I have water, but pressurized water it's not the end of the world. So what I'm gonna do, head back up to the hills and do what I came here to do, and that is make some art. And create art, I did. Now this image in particular called out to me because the mountain looked just like the mountain from the Grinch movie called Mount Crumpet. Now my wife's favorite Christmas movie, and honestly favorite movie of all time, is The Grinch. So when I saw something that I could capture that I felt like she would enjoy, I had to jump all over it. But as I worked my way back up the road towards where I wanted to shoot my sunset shot and also camp for that evening, my eye was quickly taken from the grand scenes around me, and I started to notice a lot of the smaller stories being told by nature, and I'm happy I was able to capture some of these shots. And I feel like it's a rule, and I don't know if it is, but if you have a vehicle that you're proud of in an epic location, you have to take a picture of it. You know, when I do all the crazy things that I do as a landscape photographer and wildlife photographer, it's moments like these that are exactly what's in my mind when I take my shoes off to wade through a freezing cold river or hike up a steep cliff to a place I've never been before, all hoping for something like this, a moment like this. And these are the things that I hope I can bring back and share with you guys through my photography, because it's moments like these that make me want to keep coming out and make me want to keep shooting. And my hope is through my art, I inspire you guys to get out and travel and come out to nature and experience moments like these. But, you know, a photo will never do this justice. Neither the video won't do it justice, but I am very, very blessed to be witnessing this right now and experiencing this. So I made some friends. His name is Jeff. That's Edward. They've been with me the entire time, making all this noise, making it hard to record a stinking video. But, again, can't beat the views. So, thanks for letting me share your home with you this evening, Jeff and Edward. Now, I don't know if it's something that I said or what, but right after I filmed this, Jeff and Edward became the biggest assholes you could ever meet. I was packing up and literally Jeff started to charge me, and I had to stare him in the eye and tell him, if you come any closer, I'm gonna have to use this bear spray on you. Now, thankfully, he listened and backed off, so I was able to pack up my gear, and I started working my way back down towards the van, down this open field area, and the entire time, Jeff and Edward were following me and letting me know that they wanted me gone. But I'm happy that they actually pushed me down that direction because I was able to find this scene that I captured handheld with my Canon R5. Okay, this is why you put nice off-roading lights on. This is just my regular lights. This is my high beams. This is just the two LP9s. This is just the light bar. This is both. And again, regular headlights. Much better. Okay, while I am waiting for light here, let me talk to you guys about why I decided to rent the Panasonic S1R for this trip. Last year I rented the Fuji GFX 100S, which was awesome. But I rented the Panasonic, which is actually, I think, like a 4 or 5 year old camera at this point. I rented it for two reasons. First reason, Leica glass. I've heard a lot about Leica and decided to give it a shot. Now, I do not have Leica money, but I definitely can see a image quality paired with this camera. It looks really freaking good. Now, the other reason I went with the Panasonic S1R is this does a high megapixel, has a high megapixel mode where it will stitch multiple images together and create a 180 megapixel image, which is great for printing big, which I'm out here creating art for my gallery, so I'm wanting to be able to make big prints. Now, my Canon R5 does a really good job in terms of image quality and making large prints. But I've heard a lot about this and decided, I usually like to have a secondary camera body with me, so I went ahead and rented this one. Now, my Canon R5 also has the ability to shoot a high megapixel image, but it only does JPEGs at the moment, even though I think it's like a 400 megapixel or something like that, something crazy. But I like the fact that the Panasonic does RAW. So let me show you guys how it works. So what I've been doing is going in and using the crop overlays to compose my image, like so. I do a lot of 2:1s. So it was also nice that it has a 2:1 aspect ratio option in there. Now all you do is hit menu, high resolution mode, and click start. And then you'll see it gives you the full 3:2 aspect ratio, so that's why I've been composing and taking a test shot in before and then using this afterwards. But then all you do is make sure that your exposure is set how you like it and click away. You'll see it, you heard it took multiple images and now it's going to stitch it together. I don't know if this is going to come across on my camera, but You gotta look at the detail there. That is really nice. I have been very thoroughly impressed with the image quality so far from some of the shots I've taken. Now, obviously, the moments have been spectacular, but this was a good rental. Now I went ahead and also processed a blue hour version of this image since we really didn't get a ton of epic light and direct light that morning. And I wanted to see what you guys thought and hear in the comments down below which one is your favorite. So here is that blue hour version. Now last year, I also visited this location, but I didn't visit it in the best lighting or best conditions. The mountains were bare. I was there about noon, 1 o'clock, so the lighting was really harsh and hazy, but I made sure to take advantage of the opportunity to scout out different locations, and I made sure to photograph all of those different locations so that I had the images on my hard drive. So when I was studying the locations I wanted to go to this year, I was able to reference back to some of these shots. I'm really glad I did because I knew that once I had a few of those other shots in the bag that I just showed you, I wanted to go back and photograph this composition. My photography was far from done this morning, and on my way out to the next location, I was able to grab another series of images, and this is how those turned out. Now, my wife really loves the bark that an aspen tree has, almost more than the epic fall colors you get with them. So when I saw the light reveal this story to me, I knew I had to shoot it. As I was working around and seeing the light and understanding what the scene was telling me, I also found this image, which I felt like really tied together the whole story and tied up the series of small images that I was capturing. Now, while I was shooting these small, intimate aspen scenes, there was a bluebird that kept on flying around and hunting in the different trees I was shooting. So I went ahead and threw the long lens on the Canon R5, and I was able to capture a few different images of this bluebird, and these are how those turned out. I was very pleasantly surprised with how these images turned out. I loved the blue contrast against the warm fall colors in the background, and the fact I was able to grab the shot of the bluebird flying was just icing on the cake for me. Now, the lesson that I learned here that I wanted to share with you guys is don't get so caught up with what you are in a location to shoot that you miss out on what the moment is presenting you. Now, as I was getting settled into that morning's shoot, I actually found myself really struggling finding motivation because that sky was completely blank. There was no texture, no clouds, no nothing. It was just a bluebell sky. To add on top of that, I was also a bit early to catch the fall color in this area. There was a little bit of yellow coming through, but most of the scene was that vibrant green color you're used to seeing in the summer and spring. But what made this morning really special was the encounters I had with the wildlife. As I was setting up my shot, I could hear a bull elk off in the distance bugling, and so I grabbed my binoculars and I threw those up and I started looking, and sure enough, I found about, 8 or so cow elk up there grazing through that pasture. I never did see the bull, but what made the moment even better was that as that bull bugled, I could hear a challenger in the distance responding to every call. It was a pretty cool moment. There's no better sound in nature, in my opinion. This is one of the reasons that hanging out in the mountains in the fall is one of my favorite things to do. Now, It's safe to say that I still haven't tightened this area up well, but I am happy with the images I produced. Even though that bluebell sky doesn't really do it for me, I could, I guess, do a sky replacement on it. But with all of the future shoots I ended up having of this snow-capped peak, I didn't feel like it was necessary to try to press this photo. After a quick breakfast with an amazing view, I packed up and started heading back down the mountain so I could do some much needed work on the van. With the plumbing repaired, I started working my way towards a spot that honestly, I had no idea was going to be as awesome as it ended up being. Now, I wasn't the only photographer in this spot. In fact, there was quite a few of us along this lake. So I was making sure to be respectful of others' compositions and their space. Now later, after I got that first shot, I showed you guys a lot of these photographers decided to pack up and head to a different spot of the lake because they thought that we saw the last of the light on the mountain peak. So I took advantage of the opportunity to have the lake to myself, and I started scouring for a different composition, and my patience was rewarded. The sky lit up, that alpine glow did its thing, and I was able to grab a pretty nice shot. Now, I definitely could have gotten a more vibrant sky image if I walked around the other side of the lake where some of the other photographers went, but that wasn't really what I was there to shoot. I really wanted to capture some of that alpine glow on that snow-capped peak. So I'm happy I stuck to my guns and was able to frame up the composition I wanted with the light I also wanted. The next morning ended up being a bit of a bust as well with that bluebell sky. So instead of pressing and trying to make an image, I opted for some extra rest because spending 8 days straight on the road at this point was starting to catch up to me. I did go ahead and fly the drone, and I also made sure to take some time to do some composition scouting because I knew I was going to shoot my sunset shot in this location again later that evening. In my scouting, this led me to a type of photography I really wasn't expecting to do. Now you might be wondering, there's a giant mountain behind you, why are you photographing the rocks below? Just trying to work out my abstract photography muscles. I'll be honest, I'm a little burnt out right now because the photography's been so good, and I'm not complaining at all, but I was kind of getting homesick today, and you know, there's no clouds in the sky and everything, so it's kind of hard. You know, it's a beautiful day, but it's kind of hard to get the creative photography juices going. So I challenged myself to keep coming up and to come out and create, and I actually found myself something that is going to be a good sunset shot. After I got my compositions all scouted up and I felt confident for that later shoot, I decided to go for a little bit of a walk down this trail to see if I could grab any small scenes and backlit aspen shots. How you doing?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is, right?
First time I've been here.
It's my second year being out here. It's probably one of my favorite places on earth. I always enjoy when I have a nice conversation with another traveler on a trail. Now, filming videos like these out in public makes me really nervous, but thankfully all the people that I ran into during my filming were all awesome, made it super easy for me, and I even gained a couple new followers and subscribers from those interactions. I had an absolute blast photographing these backlit aspen trees. But the time finally came for me to head back up to the van and get ready for my evening shoot. I had the same problem that I was running into in the last few shoots, a completely blank sky. So instead of fighting this clear sky, I thought to myself, why not just do a little bit of astrophotography? Yeah, the conditions aren't great for your typical landscape photography, but these are perfect astrophotography conditions. So I went ahead and framed up an astrophotography shot. My goal was to go ahead and capture a star trail over Wilson Peak. And how I capture star trails personally is I use an app called PhotoPills to help plan out where the star trails are going to be trailing and what direction they're going to be going. Kind of helps me frame up my compositions. And then from there, I set the camera up on a timer. So depending on how long I want my trails to go will depend on how long I let my camera go out there and shoot. For this particular star trail, I knew I didn't really need a super long trail. I just needed something up there that created a little bit more texture in the sky than just the blank blue sky that we had. So what I do is I go ahead and I frame up my composition when I have plenty of light, and as that blue hour light starts to dissipate, I capture a foreground image, making sure I have all of the data in a clean file that I could possibly have. Then as it gets a little bit darker, I start my time-lapse sequence on my camera. And then later in post-production, I blend all those images together, which creates this image that you see right here. Honestly, at this point, I was fighting fatigue and burnout. I was approaching 10 days straight on the road shooting and documenting the fall colors. And with the blank blue sky, which we actually took advantage of the night before, I wasn't really feeling motivated to create works of art. So instead of forcing it, I decided to embrace a nice, slow day, enjoying this beautiful weather in nature. Now, after getting a bit of work done, I looked out the window and I noticed that there was a few clouds rolling in. So I grabbed my camera, I stepped out to see what I could create, even with that high, harsh light coming through. Now, as evening approached, I decided to go ahead and go for a little bit of a walk so that I could see if I could capture something later that evening. those bits of clouds really didn't fill the composition like I was hoping it would when they first started showing up. But for me, the big thing that really makes this image work is that car you see coming down the road there on the left side of the frame. I really felt like this tied together the story of the scene. And as I've always told you guys, I'm always looking to tell and capture the story that is being presented to me. Now with dinner wrapped up, I formed a plan to head back towards a spot that I actually started this adventure at so I could do a bit of camping and enjoy the beautiful outdoors. Now before I packed up and headed back on the opposite side of the mountains where that area was, I decided to stay and photograph an iconic scene at sunrise. honestly had to talk myself into going and shooting this scene, and the reason is you can tell that the tree on the left there is not at peak fall color. However, last year when I shot this scene, I shot it not in the correct light. I shot it in the evening light, and so I really wanted to take advantage of the snow-capped Wilson Peak with that beautiful alpine glow illuminating it. After I shot this composition, I headed down towards the barn there and decided to shoot a vertical of the same scene to see what I could come up with, and this is how that turned out. As I was heading back towards the van, I was reminded to always make sure you turn around because you never know what the light is going to be presenting behind you. At this point, it was time to point my attention away from photography and more towards enjoying the great outdoors. So I packed everything up and I drove towards where I wanted to camp that evening. Well, unfortunately, the wind kicked up, so I had to put the awning back up because it was starting to move around. I was going to eat outside underneath the awning. I guess I still could eat outside because the van's kind of giving me some shade, but I decided I'd kind of sit in here. It's a little easier to talk to you guys because it's not as windy. I don't know how much more photography we're going to get. The weather forecast is looking beautiful in terms of exploring the outdoors, but not looking the best for landscape photographers' perspective. The snow on the mountains is still there, but it's starting to melt. I'm hoping at least some of it stays. For this afternoon, I'm going to do a hike up to some lakes that I'm hoping that some snow is still up there for it. And then we'll see how the evening goes. I might do a sunrise shoot or not, but I'm actually heading out of here tomorrow. Going to go up to Utah to hang with a buddy for a couple days and maybe do a little more photography up there. I also got a chance to talk with another photographer. His name's Ryan Smith. Super awesome guy. Had a really nice conversation with him this morning at the Barns. He was out leading some of his fall color workshops he does, and actually, honestly, he's one of the inspirations for me to be out here at Telluride and Ridgeway and everything, chasing fall colors. So, but I'm gonna finish eating my breakfast here, and I got some work to do, and that's gonna be it for the rest of the day.
Now, this beautiful weather was way too much for me to ignore, so I actually opted to do a hike that was not far from where I was camping. I absolutely love how that light was bringing depth and life to the scene. I didn't really like that log going through the middle part of the frame, but there really wasn't a way for me to compose the scene without including that log, so I just went ahead and made sure to have it more in a balanced position. And after I grabbed this shot, I went ahead and I grabbed a vertical version of the same composition. Now, I spent about 45 minutes working this scene, just trying out different angles, compositions, and waiting for different lighting patterns to come through. Now, unfortunately, I didn't bring my camera with me out there because it was going to be difficult for me to have two different cameras. So the footage I have of this area is a little bit limited.
The things I do for a shot, my feet are so cold, but I got a 6-mile hike ahead of me going back down, and I don't want wet shoes. So, took the shoes and socks off so I don't have to deal with it.
Now, to get the falls framed up in a way that didn't make them look super tiny, I had to cut off the tops of a lot of the pine trees. I don't typically like doing this in my photos, but I felt like it actually worked for this composition as it really immersed you in the scene. I'm curious to hear which one of these compositions though is your favorite. Do you guys like the wider version of it where you can see the tallest peak in the top left of the frame, or do you like the image where it's more close to the waterfalls and you just see more of a blanket of the mountain in the background?
I'm tired.
After getting some much needed recovery liquids and grabbing a good night's rest, I opted to grab a couple more images on my way out the next morning. The day before when I drove in here, I saw that the dust of the road, when it kicked up, the light created these light rays. And so I knew I needed to grab that image when I was going out of here. So I grabbed my camera, found the composition I wanted, and kind of camped off on the side of the road until a car passed by. And once that car passed by, I jumped in there and I got to shooting. And this is how that image turned out. And that's a wrap on this year's series of Chasing Fall in Colorado. If you guys are new to the channel, then maybe consider hitting the subscribe button down below and also that bell icon to be notified when I post my next video. I create a lot of travel content like this based around my time as a nature photographer and filmmaker, but I also do a lot of different camping and outdoor adventure content, including van conversions, which I still owe you guys a few videos on the van build that you've been watching during this whole series. So those will be coming out here very soon. I want to say thank you to all of you who have watched this full series. It means a lot to me for you guys to support this work. Now, if any of these images spoke to you and maybe you're interested in picking up a fine art print of them, I do have those linked down below, as well as other merchandise on my website. So if you guys are looking to support my photography work, this is a great place to do it. I also have a few copies of my 2024 nature photography calendar available. So if you guys want to grab a copy of that, I also have that link down below. That is by far the best way to support my work. And it's also the best value for you because you get a ton of my best images from the previous year. That's it, guys. I will see you in the next adventure.